responsible way. And they've done the hard lifting, I'll put it that way. And so they know what works, what doesn't work, and can be very helpful to us here. Thank you.
Right. And Joy, just for clarification, the other island instead of Hawaii is Kauai.
Kauai.
It's a Kauai Island utility Kauai. It's a Kauai.
And I don't know how effective that is. I don't know. But we can learn from their mistakes also. Right? That's how we put this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm good.
Do you have any other comments or individuals wishing to speak? Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the review and approval of minutes, September 20th, 2013. And,
Well, yeah, we actually are still working on the minutes. If it pleases the commission, we can review those minutes.
so we'll
as well.
defer to the next meeting?
Yeah. Is there a motion to do that? Is there a motion needed to do that?
No,
No,
I don't
okay.
believe so. I think that would be at the leisure of the chair to defer. Okay, so we'll defer without any comment from the members. Number 6, determine need for sunshine law training, individual or group. I know we discussed this last meeting, correct? And you were asked by us to find out when there was going to be training, I think, correct?
I think what Corporation Council mentioned was that for you guys to take a look at what was presented, and in the event you needed further training, then you could let us know. So it can be an ongoing thing. If at any point in time you feel you need training, then it is available. So that was put in there just for Corp Council's sake, that it was presented again. If you do prefer, we can get it scheduled.
You know, this is a comment. Have anyone been participated in any of the county's sunshine? You have, right?
I have.
Steve? You know, LinkedIn does a pretty good cheat sheet, kind of the major things that, you know, if there's generally I guess a misstep, so to speak. If we could get that from him, I think that would assist, kind of like a Cliff Notes version.
Okay.
You know, like the chain and those kind of things and what have you. And then if that could be circulated to us via email at the next meeting, we can establish to see if that's sufficient or we think we need additional training, if that's okay with them.
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but for those that were here on the last meeting as well, Margaret did share with us, to Margaret, about the sunshine basics, on the discussions part about communication going directly to DOT via emails, and she'll send out things versus these email chains to one another, etc. And that's the biggest part of it as far as meetings, etc.
And you will notice that when I send out an email to you all, just as an extra precaution, I'm sending it all to you under a BCC, so that you cannot reply all
Yes.
and violate, without intending to violate sunshine law. So that's how some of you may notice, who is this to? But it won't even have your folks' names on it.
Thank you, Marvin. Are there any additional comments in regards to this? If not, number 7, Will?
Last time we talked about initiatives that are being handled in the energy program. Julie's request was she hears more about the dockets. So county is currently involved in 3 or 4, I'll name the 3 major ones: the integrated resource planning process, which is kind of in a PUC decision mode about whether the action plan submitted by the utility goes forward or does not go forward. So County of Hawaii is an intervener, no other county is an intervener. Everybody's put in their comments. Every county was an advisory group members, and those comments count. So the 5-year action plan by our utility is on hold until the PUC decides or modifies. And then county, as an intervener, will have some input into that. Any questions on that one? Okay. The other docket is the biofuels contract in Ka'u, and county requested, as well as Life of the Land, the 2 interveners requested for evidentiary hearing, which is basically judge and jury type situation where we call witnesses up to test the statements made in the docket. there will be no evidentiary hearing. So the PUC will rule on whether that contract is approved or not in the next, I would probably think the next 30 days that will be resolved. And then the last one is the decoupling docket, which is the financial mechanism the utility has if energy efficiency is provided to a household or a business and those kilowatt hours leave the system, then they can be made up elsewhere. That's a simplified version, and I don't understand decoupling as much as I will in the next few months, so I can bring more information on that. But my understanding is it's a way to keep the utility healthy. The utility is a necessary entity, and it's a way of keeping them financially healthy while other entities like Hawaii Energy pursue energy efficiency, and other things are going on like photovoltaics with net energy metering agreements as well as feed-in tariff agreements. So that keeps the utility healthy and on the same side as the customer.
What was the status?
It just started. So the issues have been put forth, and then rolled into that docket is also a whole performance metric for the utility. So the PUC kind of put that in as far as how to incentivize the utility to become more, if you will, cost effective, or how to be on the same side of the customer. So there's a whole list of performance metrics that are rolled into that docket that will occur in 2014. So County of Hawaii is an intervener. No other county is an intervener in that docket except for the County of Hawaii. It will be a complicated docket talking about financial mechanisms for the utility going forward. Did I get some of that right?
It's beyond my realm of knowledge.
Yeah, it's
I'm kind of focused just on food, so.
And Julie asked, because last time I mentioned that 50% of the energy program is involved in dockets. We've been heavy in policy for the last 3 years, and it was a necessary thing that we set on the boards of Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, Steering Committee, the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and we're heavy into the dockets. It's not really listed in any, when you look at the initiatives recommended to the mayor from the last Energy Advisory Commission, you'll see that there's no dockets, legislation, things like that. So I just want to let you guys know that 50% of the energy program's time is involved in that. Other than that, we're working on a master photovoltaic RFP for county large energy users. And this would incorporate photovoltaics and hopefully electric vehicle charging stations. And it could involve situations where we would have a civil defense play, such as a microgrid, very close to what Joy was saying about community grids, maybe an islanding type situation for civil defense situations. Julie can discuss the La'Wanila Wind Farm power purchase agreement, which is on its way to be signed.
Yes. So, some of you know about the water supplies planning a wind farm near, it's La'Wanila Parker Wells. That will power 8 wells off of 5 turbines that are 600 kilowatt each. And we signed the power purchase, or the developer signed the power purchase agreement, and now it's on its way back to water supply for water supply signature today. So the environmental work has started. We've got some shorebird studies that have just completed. We reviewed the site for Hawaiian bats. And it's going to be a while before it actually gets going, like maybe 2 years from now. That's hopefully, but that's what we're looking at before it's in service.
Who's the contract with?
It's with Site Constructors, the same owner of the Hawi Wind Farm, or the ones that operate the Hawi Wind Farm. Site Constructors is the one.
And the same turbines.
Same turbines.
So spare parts and an operation and maintenance guy already exist on island.
and it's going to involve really high-tech SCADA, which is supervisory control and data acquisition system, where they're going to install these boxes on our well operations, and it'll be connected to their wind farm operations and our water controls, so we can see what they're doing on the wind farm side, they can see what we're doing on the water side, and it's all, the electricity is gonna be used on site, and none of it's being sold to Helco, because Helco cannot take any more wind at this point on their system.
So you have your own distribution system like that?
Yes.
And it's not tied into the power lines, right?
No, there was an original wind farm that was built in 1984 that built power lines to 4 wells. And then we're running new power lines to the 4 Parker wells, the 4 new wells. So we'll have 8 wells powered off the wind farm.
So what's the capacity of the wind farm?
It's 2.3 megawatts.
And it's enough to cover the demand from all the water wells?
Not 100%. Well, theoretically, it could 100%, but our demand and the wind isn't synced, right? So we're gonna still be connected to the and but we're hoping to maximize the use of our wind, yeah.
This is a contract with a private developer and the water
Yes.
supply?
It's a third-party power purchase agreement on land that's, the wind farm will be on water supply leased land from the state. So it's a repowering project because the original wind farm was built in 1984 and that had 120, 17 kilowatt
Yeah,
wind
that's
turbines.
small.
Yeah,
And this is Makaya, the old one, highway.
yes, it's
behind
Malka
Ranch.
of Puuko. It's the same elevation as Waikoloa Village. You're at the north end of Waikoloa Village, you can see it.
Right, and it's got 70-mile-per-hour winds at times and pretty much a 50 to 60 mile-per-hour consistency.
I'd say more like 30, but still,
It's,
it's pretty good. I mean,
yeah, it's,
real gusty though,
we've been out there where you've seen the turbines bent if they're put in the wrong place.
yeah.
So, that's an exciting
Well, I have a
project.
question for Julie. Julie, is the current wind contractor going to be doing, or is incorporating their contract, any storage amendments or supplements to the current PPA? And then the only reason I'm asking is I do believe that, and I'm not sure if they're doing some trials right now in Kohala, but my understanding, they're very close to a workable scaled solution for storage. And the only reason I ask,
Ranch, Kohala.
no,
Hubby,
Yeah.
No, they do have a storage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they already have the storage.
right, but my understanding it's a beta, correct, as far as pre-commercial?
It's from the Office of Naval Research.
Right.
And it is connected now, and HNEI is running the program, and they've tested it, whether it's better at power smoothing, which is basically,
That,
yeah, help deliver firmer power to the grid, because that's where it's going, to the household. Or should they put the battery there on that grid node to firm up the general grid? And they found that it's more effective if they put it on the grid, so it's not actually being used for power smoothing at this point. It's being oscillated between, is it better as a grid node firming up the entire grid for frequencies, or power smoothing for that particular wind farm. So right now it's being used as a grid firming device.
and the only reason I'm asking is because that's generally the biggest concern for the utility with wind,
Yes.
is that, you know, that,
Storage.
what have you, so, because it sounds to me that when it's gusting, you folks have excess power that you can't utilize it to push back.
Yeah, so that'll just get wasted from the heat.
That might, and I know you signed it, but I do know that there's a couple, we have a couple pre-commercial trials in the state. And again, it's my understanding they're very, very close. And so perhaps that's something maybe, although you're signing a PPA, would be the innovative side of creating more capacity for the water supply.
Yep, you're thinking right on the same lines as we were thinking when we put this together. So I worked pretty closely with Will, and we had an actual study that was done by the National Renewable Energy Lab, NREL.
Okay.
And definitely that's like phase 2, or how can we maximize the electricity generation on this site, because it's an 80-acre site. There's lots of potential. You could put solar, hydro, and batteries or flywheels or whatever you wanted to put up there, even hydrogen generation. So it's got a lot of potential.
Great.
We need to get this thing built first.
Right, no, I understand.
And so
And I understand your
that was kind of,
dilemmas.
that's what I was told, is, you know, we can sit and, I get all kinds of ideas, but we gotta get it built.
Okay, great,
And then phase 2.
great.
Great, okay, and County of Hawaii sits on the NELHA board, and the OTEC International project is going forward. That's a 1 megawatt OTEC machine at their 55-inch pump station. That's pretty exciting and novel. So,
How big?
What's,
1 megawatt,
what's the timing of this 1 megawatt project?
it's at least 2 years, yeah. When we reviewed the proposals, OTEC International came in first. They got $1 billion in venture capital funding from an old coal family out of Baltimore.
Wow.
And the second place team was the Japanese. And if any of you attended the Okinawa, Hawaii OTEC conference we had at the West Hawaii Civic Center, Japan has already put up a 50 kilowatt machine in Kumijima, our sister city. So actually OTEC, which wasn't real for years, is you know, after another generation and a couple of years, is starting up again. So Japan's going to put another 50 kilowatts on. OTEC International is going to put a 1 megawatt on, and Mackay Ocean Engineering has a grant to put up a 100 kilowatt turbine at their heat transfer station down at NELHA. So NELHA is getting more and more prominent, if you will, and active. In addition to that, the nutraceutical company, Cyanotech, is putting up a 500 kilowatt array. Their load is 600 kilowatts to make that astaxanthin product that is apparently flying off the shelf, so that they've asked for more lease space at NELHA and have received that. So that product, and I don't know what the profit margins are, but that company's doing very well. They will be putting up a SCADA system, just like Julie talked about, for all their pumps. So they'll be able to monitor each pumping station, what its load is, and hopefully work with NREL on, I guess, possibly putting renewable energy devices at those pumps. That's about a wrap. Do you have a question?
Who's buying the electricity from OTEC, that 1 megawatt?
That's a question. First we want to see if it works, and then there should be in excess of 600 kilowatts of energy. They want a power purchase agreement with Telco, but that remains to be seen whether that point in the grid can handle it. The circuit at the top of NELHA is the most highly penetrated with solar from Koyo at 800 kilowatts, and Sopogy has a contract for 500 kilowatts, although I don't think they're producing anything near that. So the circuit and that node point to the grid would have to be updated for anything big to happen there, exporting OTEC.
So it's if we build it, it will happen thing.
It is one of those things, yeah. So circuits are the big concern on the grid for high levels of PV and distributed generation penetration.
Comments, questions to Will or Julie? If not, Will, I have one.
Sure.
It sounds with the concentrated renewable sources of energy, both, well, right now, more PV at NELHA and then potentially ocean thermal. Has there been a study within the NELHA group on a microgrid and to see how it could be self-sustainable within that park?
actually did a microgrid master plan when I was there, we were working with National Renewable Energy Lab, who had given us $500,000 to do one microgrid. That project is moving forward. So that's part of the SCADA system on each pumping system and a 30 kilowatt photovoltaic array. So technically it's not a microgrid, but it is being used for microgrid research. Would that area be a perfect microgrid situation? I think so. How are they going to do it? That remains to be seen.
The only reason I asked is because we got UH and ACC coming online, along with DOT, with the airport. And so within the context of that area, and of course, I think, and please don't quote me, but I believe 60% of the operating cost of Nelha is energy.
Yeah, 50%, 50 to 60%, just like our water department, yeah, is pumping, electricity for pumping.
So my understanding is that the park could increase threefold easily with a more steady and sustainable energy costs.
As an example, Big Island Abalone is the largest water user of deep sea water, so their costs are astronomical as far as electricity. If they reduce that, could they expand? Yeah, absolutely. So it is energy holding them back from higher profit margins? Absolutely. Koyo's business model is selling deep sea desalinated water to Japan at very high prices, so only high-end products can exist in the current paradigm there.
I guess what I'm leaning towards in Joy's comment, Nelha might be the opportunity we're looking to see on a demonstratable concept of what you brought up. I mean, it's happening to some degree already, and maybe that has more capacity. I know it may be, bureaucratically more difficult, but that maybe could be a hurdle on a larger policy statement working with the state and the county.
It was designed as a distributed energy resource center, and it was supposed to be the first microgridded area, so it makes sense. The gateway and that whole region was supposed to be a distributed energy resource beta, and National Renewable Energy Lab and the Department of Energy invested $4 million in the gateway and that campus to do that, but it never came.
If you could, it sounds like Nelha is and because you were there, if you could send us some pertinent information that we can maybe get some little bit background on it, I'd appreciate it. More white paper stuff.
Absolutely.
And then that'll have more capacity, I think, for us to understand that, to be able to maybe help or promote a policy that to send to the mayor that maybe might have value for consideration.
There is a white paper and an updated white paper on microgrids at Nelha.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Related to that, there is a real stability problem in the grid itself. I know because we fry our pumps all the time.
Yeah, that fluctuation.
And we've monitored it, it goes all over the map. That's at the desalting plant there, Gulf Coast.
Oh, that's right.
That's basically frequency fluctuations that
Terrible.
that burn the motor out ahead of its life,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Fry
Yeah, with so much renewable on the grid and the grid being so big, this is kind of this is a given, yeah. And solutions like putting batteries, HNEI did a study where they determined 5 megawatts of batteries positioned strategically could firm up the grid quite a bit. That's the direction they're going. So they have a 1 megawatt battery at the Hadi node. They could have put a battery at the Lalamila site, which is another strategic node. So right there is another place to firm up the grid. So that should be thought about. HNEI has that study material on where those nodes should be.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Will.
Welcome.
Number 8, discussion on the Hawaii County Energy Advisory Commission term transition report. I know it was emailed, thanks Dot, I appreciate you making hard copies as well. The request came from Steve Burns, and because there were so many newer members, he had asked that we made sure that we were aware of what the report's content was and had an opportunity to review it. And of course, looking for, implementable and action steps to not create that lull within the new, a transition of the board. And so, because this is a foundation of the prior commission, it was a good stepping stone moving forward. Did anyone have the opportunity to review it, and do we have comments in regards to that? Now, there is an update, if you know, to the, well, I don't know if it's an update, but it's a little more of a revision, articulation, correct, of our current commission duties
Yes.
compared to what the previous commission.
Yes, and it is up to each commission to set their own agenda. So in reviewing this, some of the things may resonate with you and some may not. So there are things that we can prioritize if transportation is a major initiative of this commission and feels like that's an actionable item. We want to look, I hope that we can look at items that can be implementable. So some of these fall under what we used to call a sustainability coordinator. We are at this time not with a sustainability coordinator, nor have we been with one for 2 years. But a lot of things like energy efficiency and the Green Government Action Plan fall under sustainability coordination. And like I said, until I move out of some of the dockets, I'll have limited ability to tackle all of these. But if we could, my view, if you guys choose to, go down that way, is to prioritize what you feel is what the priorities are for the county government and the mayor's initiatives. So in looking at this, we should have discussions on what you feel is number one, number two, number three, and what the county energy coordinator should be tackling. I know that, Kelvin brings a lot of transportation expertise, and we're happy, and we need a lot of transportation expertise because transportation is probably an area we can do something in really quickly and be a real model. And that's kind of the way the mayor rolls anyway. He wants to see examples of good projects. So that would be my comment, to look at this and prioritize what resonates with you, and then have a discussion when, Steve Burns and Tommy Boyd are here, because and Mike was present at the last EAC, so they have the history.
I have a comment. One of the challenges is understanding within the various areas, for example, transportation, utilities, water, what have you, is understanding what's occurring or in the process. In other words, projects or things that are being, especially from the municipality side and the public sector. Private sector, there's all kinds of stuff that are happening, but I believe that from what I can see is the mayor he wants to have the county be a good steward and demonstrate that. And perhaps there's more capacity in managing that and then moving towards a quasi-public-private sector, like DWS. But is there like a matrix of all these things that are occurring or happening and understanding how they play? And
Yes.
There is, because there's quite a bit of, yeah, exactly. And also for the public to maybe to appreciate where their capacity has a way of either moving it or, because one of the things, of course, for me, personally, there's two things for me that I feel is extremely important in our county. One is we need to have higher and more sustainable transportation access so people can get to work. That's one. Primarily because other than the last major road construction, which was Saddle, and perhaps there's going to be a few more interconnects regards to Keao and maybe in Kona.
Right.
I don't think there'll be much more. In other words,
Right.
And so we need to figure out how do we maximize transportation in regards to, one, affordability, fuel. Second, if we're gonna have to manage the amount of load that our roads currently have, how do we increase the capacity of public transportation to be able to meet those demands? Which again, from my perspective, seems the mayor was right on track with that initiative. So I do believe it creates the opportunity immediately for us to continue on that track. So that's one. So matrix, then it allows, I think, what I call parallel emphasis. In other words, we could actually have the commission work in tangent on parallel priorities so that it just doesn't necessarily mean this is a primary priority. We can have commission members with expertise work in concert and have parallel. You know, and because they'll merge, they'll converge at some point. And again, it's maximizing our time and efforts is what I believe is where it comes to.
Yeah, one of the, mass transit is certainly the one that we want to focus on, and we've got a group from University of Michigan working with mass transit on a strategic plan. So that's no cost. They wanted to do it as part of their research. So they're working with mass transit on a strategic plan for the island. Rural mass transit systems don't really pencil out like urban mass transit situations. So having that strategic plan and maybe having mass transit visit and talk about where they're at, like Tom Brown visited the last Energy Advisory Commission. And the good thing about Tom was he had the strategic plan in his head, so you just needed to sit down with Tom. This needs to be more of a document that we're creating with mass transit, and then revisit things that we've discussed before, like biofuels and hydrogen initiatives for this island. Because those are key projects that no other island has. And I agree with the mayor that people want to see and touch projects. Like La Lamila, that's going to go up, that's right there pumping water, or the West Hawaii Civic Center that has EVs and battery and excess PV. People want to see things. So that's when Tommy Goy, we talked about education, I think that's one of the best ways to educate. So what you requested is a matrix of where we are in mass transit and transportation initiatives.
Right, because can we leverage what's already being done as low-hanging fruit, get that moving so that it creates momentum, and then looking at the opportunities within the expertise of members on the committee to see how we can take it to the next steps. I believe the report covers it well. I think the first commission did a great job in establishing the needs and some of the challenges, but if we don't start it, it will never get to the next step. And so I believe there's a lot here already without having to reinvent the wheel. And so with that being said, what I'd like to ask with the leisure of the members is take an opportunity to read this with your comments on our next meeting, along with, if will, you can get that matrix out. And we can start to articulate, at that meeting, what is that one thing we can actually start moving forward from the next session, from our next meeting.
Yeah, so one thing I didn't mention was EV charger stations will be at this building. And Kelvin's going to a meeting in Maui where they have a series of fast chargers being installed by Hitachi. And he's been in discussions with Ann Koo, who's...
This weekend.
November.
Yeah, and she's leading that charge as part of a Department of Energy grant. So her grant runs out. I think that's the last part of her grant. She certainly would be an asset for this island. She's
We'll have some discussions when we get there.
good. But they're putting in a CHAdeMO system, which is basically compatible, as I understand, only with the Nissan and Mitsubishi. So if you have a Nissan Leaf or a Mitsubishi, whatever, you can get a 20-minute charge and move on your way. But if you have a Tesla, Chevy Volt, whatever, you can't use the fast charger. So because Japan's bringing $40 million to Maui, County of Maui, and putting in fast chargers, it's going to be Japan technology. I guess, it wouldn't be my preference, but $40 million is hard to say no to. So Kelvin will have a lot of information when he comes back. What can we do to leverage that? I know the Big Island Electric Vehicle Group has been asking for fast chargers all around the island. I don't know if that's a county initiative or not. We have to decide that.
Okay, and again, I think in regards to the matrix, it is what I call the parking lot items like that. Is establishing all the wants of groups and who identified and who are the stakeholders, and essentially just taking an inventory of those things, you know, of the people there and what their initiatives would want to be, and of course, we looking at a more global, but attempting to establish a priority of those items. Not to say a group can't move it forward if they have the willingness to be able to take it on and work in, and maybe we can assist from that perspective.
County has the appetite and the direction to step into transportation very heavily, and that's what we've been talking about for quite a while, but we need to do it.
Okay. So, clarity, review. Will give us from the public sector what the county is doing and projects and what opportunities exist there based upon the report findings here. Is that okay? And again, the concept is to maximize the opportunities that already have been established.
I agree.
Okay. Any further comments?
Excuse me, will this be, so then it'll be old
Old business for next. Yeah, old business for next. But it'll be an actionable item. And so one of the other things I'd like to suggest, only because, you know, I understand what Steve Burns was saying is how do we keep ourselves self-accountable in regards to where we're at and where we're going and what we've done and what we're doing. When a matrix is done, or the starting, it's actually a working process, that's why. Perhaps that can be where we attempt to kind of have a report card for ourselves. You know, I mean, as far as that. And again, the concept is to understand is, you know, are we achieving our goals and missions, and if not, why? And sometimes the strategy or priority may change just based on resources or new knowledge that comes about. But at the same time, I think we have a responsibility to at least to say, okay, this is moving, this is not, why? If not, we may have to put it on the side and move to something else instead of continuing to dwell on it and it just kind of gets stuck in the mud, so to speak.
Yeah, one of the things that we chicken and egg with is, for whatever reason, if we have a lot of support in the energy transportation expert, or we hire a transportation expert, we can do more things. So the Energy Advisory Commission could look at what we can accomplish with our current staff, and then, you know, what we can do about that. We can request from the mayor help.
Thank you. The other item is just once, and then, so the other objective in regards to the next meeting that we need to establish is the working committees. Okay. And just, it's my understanding, and I don't think we need to get, but it might be something that Margaret may have to comment, but it's my understanding we can invite members from the community to sit on those committees.
Okay, yeah, I think we need co-counsel.
Okay, if you could. The only thing I believe is that unless it's a task force, it will still be subject to sunshine in regards to committee members, but not the ex officios, which are public members that are asked or would like to be part of that discussion group. Okay, again, I could be incorrect, but I believe so. So they would be ex officio, they don't have capacity, but the reason we want them is they may have expertise or insight to allow for more ability to do something.
Okay, I will do an email to her, CCing you, or either way, or you can do it.
Yeah, you can just enter, and if Margaret feels she needs to contact me directly,
Okay.
whichever she prefers.
I will, okay,
And again, the concept is to leverage that networking.
yes.
Any other comments or information or what you'd like to see on the next agenda? Quite a bit, you'll be busy, Mr. Will.
Well, that's okay. The one thing I did see in the report from the last DAC that stuck out besides transportation as far as resonating with what we wanted to accomplish on our own without the Energy Advisory Commission was a center of excellence, like you always discuss in energy. I mean, this island does sit at 40, 45, 50% renewable generation, and we are doing things in transportation with Kelvin leading that no one else is. And how do we leverage that? So, again, this island has a lot to talk about, a lot to educate about. Where can we step down the path with a matrix of what that looks like, or what we want it to look like, and who the partners are? For me, a transportation initiative and an initiative in energy excellence, or if you will, a program in energy excellence, would be something that we could accomplish or start or have a report card on. I think those are
So
excellent.
when you do the matrix, we identify what you're saying, and then we drill down to that level?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Makes sense.
just to think about where we want to go with that, if we want to go there. I mean, we do have this thing, the Natural Energy Laboratory of Hawaii Authority, that is different than most islands. And it's always been talked about as, you know, within, you know, 1 square mile, you can see, you know, deep sea water being used for air conditioning, or ocean thermal energy conversion, or 4 types of photovoltaics, including solar concentrating, you know, a solar concentrating system. You have a battery now, a lithium-ion battery at Koyo. You kind of surround an airport that could be net zero, and Sandia has looked at making that net zero with a 2 megawatt array. And they want to go net zero because their energy prices are very high. And so just that area, to me, resonates with the new community college as a center of excellence in energy that this island could lead. So, good. That's just a comment.
All right, so that'll be on your matrix, and you can use that as a specific example on how that could look like. Because a lot of times we need to see it to understand it, and how to be able to, I guess, use it to implement.
Yes.
All right. Is there any business
I'd
history?
just like to add into that thought, because I'm coming from a different viewpoint of the use of energy, is that we are faced in that area of the island with a move by the National Park Service to declare the aquifer under the control of the state of Hawaii. We're going to be dealing with that beginning right away. One of the issues that comes up in that is the efforts at desalting, of which we are in the focal point. We do it. And it will be a growing issue in which energy is heavily involved in it. And one of the things that we've innovated in the work we did there was we have energy recovery units within the desalting plant, which are rather unique. In fact, they're the first of a kind being never been applied here before. And actually, they were experimental when they were put in, but they're working. And I guess the only point I want to make is that don't just include the public sector in the ideas of the efficiency.
No, and you're right. And so the concept with there is, once we get that, then we ask commission members to add in the private sector based on their areas of
I
expertise.
think the microgrid concept makes so much sense in that node because of the problems of the power quality, if for no other reason.
Well, you brought up another issue which has been something for me that actually has, and it's going to be an issue worldwide. I believe there's only, 3 or 5% potable water available in the world. Very small, very small. And of course, 75% of our world is covered by the ocean. And so the reality is desalination is going to have to happen. I mean, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. But the amount of power it takes to be able to produce 1 gallon of water and what waste it generates, so you're right, that potential how do you maximize and reconverting it, or
And actually, the primary example of it is the Kukio Resort, of the efficiency of the use of the energy put in from the original source work all the way through to the user. It is the demonstration. The problem is, because it's private like that, it doesn't receive the kind of recognition that it might otherwise. And they don't necessarily want recognition, they wanted a solution.
right?
And we pioneered that on this island. Hualalai relies on it, Kukio Resort relies on it, the new Kohanihiki one is relying on desalting. So it's not like it's new.
Well, actually, weren't you involved in the initial programs and plans at Waikoloa Land Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was pioneering back then.
Yeah. But I think the important thing is you can't lose sight of the application of the energy efficiency.
So this is the concept, and when he gets the matrix, the next step will be is to map it.
Yeah.
And see, and have this concept to be able to understand what's going on, because what he's getting at, I believe, will occur on this excellence program, is we'll be able to now understanding the academic and institutional values. And then with the partners that are here, there, and everywhere, that this map will show that, you know what, a lot of it's happening here. Why don't you come here and work with us?
I think that's the point I'm making.
Right, and I totally concur with you, and that's that next step I mentioned, that the quasi-public-private moving into that, but you're right, that side where you're talking about, to me, has the greatest capacity of being able to do something. Why it's happening now, but we're not leveraging all that, because we may not know what's there.
It's not public.
Correct.
But also, when you look at the matrix, you'll also be able to identify what the capacity of the demand is from Delta, which is really important. You gotta understand the entire Delta tenants, what's their demand, and what's the available sources current right now, and what that cost will be. Because if that cost is actually higher than the helpful cost, then we're going in the opposite direction. So that's why it's important to get that matrix to understand the entire structure of the demand and the setup.
Right, and so once, the concept that I believe, and with the people we have on our board and the public's insight, once we can get that going, is actually to understand what we have, what's going on, where we need to move, and in between, what are the opportunities for us to get there? You know, because there's some tremendous gap opportunities that we have to realize that these are the things we can have access to. Sometimes we concentrate so much on what we'd like to see, we don't look at what we already have and can utilize. And again, that's the opportunity, because we're screaming and scrambling for these dollars or these grants, and so they're not always on the ball of what we currently have.
Yeah.
You know, but again, that's excellent, but I think we need, because there is, you're right, Steve, there's tremendous amount of, I mean, the innovation is unbelievable. I mean, our utility for the side is one of the most innovative utilities in regards to integrated renewable energy sources. I believe the Cornell study gives some in-depth capacity in that. I think Curtis was a big part of that when that was going on. But those are some things too, is when we create that inventory or that mass, we also put the players to it. And we may need to tap them to come back to us to help us to get into the next steps, be part of the committees or whatever the case. So we're not lacking resources, but coordination may be the where we need to spend some time and energy on. Good points. Any other discussion or comments? If not, determine date, time, and place. Now, it's my understanding that the commission was meeting monthly, correct?
Yeah, my suggestion was that might have been too quick because it didn't allow enough time for things to happen and report back. So my vote, if I ever had a vote, was, hey, let's make it, every 2 months or every 6 weeks. When we did have an initiative, like we're getting to the end of the sustainability 5-year roadmap, we met as necessary every 2 weeks. So when we do have something hot, we can speed it up. But at this time, when we're just forming and getting to know what we're all about and getting matrices together, maybe a longer span would be perhaps more beneficial.
The only challenge is December. It's a tough schedule for a lot of people. So if we do that, what I'd like to suggest is, because we have a lot of initiatives we requested, we have a meeting in November, and we jump into January, so that the work can continue. So we have a progress on what we've asked for today, and it moves forward. I'd like to also for us to commit that we will look at establishing what we feel the two top priority committees, and they start working from the next meeting forward. With that, and I'd like to suggest a meeting November, skip December, we determine in January how it's going, and then from there determine our schedule. Would that be okay as far as a recommendation?
Suits me.
Now, the other challenge is DOT trying to get a facility. So that's the other reason why the better we can determine a set schedule, it makes it easier securing facilities. This is what, the third Wednesday, third Thursday? Fourth Thursday, third Thursday, right?
Fourth.
Fourth Thursday, is the
There's
fourth
5 weeks
Thursday?
this month.
Yeah.
This is the fourth Thursday.
Pardon, you make,
Is Thanksgiving the fourth Thursday?
Yeah, so,
So this will be the alpha day or.
Perfect day then, thanks. You bring a little turkey over here.
third
That's
Thursday.
that's the only exception,
This is
other than that,
21st.
the Thursdays, what Thursday is it?
November 21st is the third Thursday.
Is that a good time for you? Is another day better?
if you know your calendars, or can take a look at your calendars online right now, if you're able, that might be, something to look at, and then I can take the date and find a location, even if it has to be island-wide.
Yeah, so first, I wanted to ask if we can, so this is what I'd like to request of the committee. One is to establish the November dates and the January date at the minimum. Second is, I believe it's our responsibility to have equal access in regards to the public, to be able to have the opportunity. And so with that being said, you know, I know that geographically, for us, perhaps, you know, we can limit, I mean, we can do it east to Hawaii, west to Hawaii for now, and then look at other opportunities later. But logistically, that might be the easiest for this point. So if we could schedule the next meeting on the west side,
Okay.
and perhaps there's some opportunity there, Will, there's more
Yeah,
facilities at the Civic Center, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
the 21st is open for me.
21st is good for me.
That's fine with me.
Might keep it,
Yeah.
Okay,
should be,
10 o'clock, and we leave it at 10?
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Bowles, would the 21st of November work for you?
As far as I know.
He's at a point in life it changes day to day. 10 o'clock. And for,
Does 10 o'clock work for everybody?
Yes.
and right now, can we make the tentative commitment to the West Hawaii Civic Center?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, January. And we can stick to the third Thursday, I don't have a problem with that, or the fourth, whichever you prefer. The fourth Thursday is the 23rd, the third Thursday is the 16th.
When does Ledge open?
When is the, second week in January, right?
What's that, what's the
Ledge.
question?
Is it second week?
Ledge is usually, I think so.
The 6th or the 13th, generally, right? Somewhere's around there.
Yeah. Can I do it after that?
You wanna do it before?
No, I'm just saying, you know, we gotta be aware of that.
Yeah.
We'll get diverted.
23rd,
January 23rd?
Okay.
It's time to settle in if something happens.
And for for reference, we'll do it geographic now, so we just put east away. And
Okay.
then it gives the flexibility of facility.
Okay, great,
Is that okay?
that works. Does January 23rd work for everybody so far?
Okay. And then we'll determine at that point. Does that suit well?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other business or discussions?
I have just some housekeeping things, and I wanted to just give everyone who needed, or to come see me afterwards maybe, parking permit applications that can be used east and west side. So I have it, and then you can use it, I can take it, pass it down. And then just complete it and turn it back into me, and we'll get you guys a pass, hopefully before the next meeting or at the next meeting. And then, I think the last thing I have is,
Already have.
historically, the agenda and the minutes are presented to the commissioners a week before the meeting.
That's fine.
Aside from this past.
I mean, is that okay with the members?
So yeah, it's up to you folks, I guess.
Okay, and then I will take the initiative in contacting Steve and Tommy to let them know of our organization and the dates as a courtesy. So I'll call them.
Thank you.
Hearing no other business, the meeting is adjourned at 11:10. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we can eat lunch.
Yes, please come help yourself. This is, great meeting.
Steve.
Back in the 80s.
Very good choice, Chair and Vice Chair.
Lucky, and now it's Shanghai.